Hello there and welcome to my boat build project. My name is Panu and this is the 15 meter or 50-foot sailboat I am building from scratch here in Finland. I started this build about 2.5 years ago and it has been steady but a bit slow process so far. What we have actually done here is to make all these frames. We have installed them, then we have the side decks installed in here and the side walls of the bulwark right here. There's a stem installed on the boat and the stern packing stuff, and there is also mast steps installed. And previous video I started to make the structural beams here on the side. My objective for this year is still to get the hull completely done. That means that we're going to do the strip planking, lay down the veneers over that, 2 layers of veneers in 45-degree layers, then fiberglass on top, and then fire and paint the hull. That way the hull should be ready to be flipped over maybe later this year. That is still the plan and that is still the goal. The thing I'm doing maybe differently than other projects out there is to make a lot of structures inside the boat before I do the actual hull planking. For example, this area right here is the structure for the rudder that's gonna be inside the boat. And those are of course much easier to do in this phase rather than trying to fit them into the ready shaped hull. That's the reason why this has been taking so long. Other reason of course is the constant lack of money and time, which is, well, the basic stuff of boat building, I guess. But as you can see, it is now summer. It is actually the warmest day of the year so far. It's way over 20 degrees in here. And I was kind of planning to make the rest of the layers for this side beam today, but it is too warm for that. I don't want to push it with the epoxy because the epoxy will harden faster when it's warmer. So I will postpone this to some day that it is a little bit more cool. Instead, I want to do this video today from start to finish. And for that, I have planned at least one thing, maybe two. Let's see about that. But let's start with the one thing. And that brings us here to the front. So this is the stem of the boat. This is a mold structure here. And this part right here is the pulpit of the boat. So this will be the structural extension for the front of the boat that we can stand on when throwing mooring lines or stuff like that. There's not gonna be head sails in this boat, so that way it's not that crucial. But what we're still missing with this is some structures over here. So this is the side wall of the bulwark and it should extend here in this slot. You can see maybe here. So we need to make 2 layers of plywood on both sides in here to make wall in here, and that will support this front end of the boat and make it more structural sound. And that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna cut 4 parts with the CNC and yeah, and maybe glue them in. I hope to get glued them in today. But before we do anything, let's go to the computer and see how they look. I had a few options there. So this is my office space. Here I spend most of my time, unfortunately. Yeah, we have the 3D model of the boat here. And I wanted to show you a little bit of the design of this front section here. Maybe I'll just put a screen capture at this stage. So now you can see the view in here. So this is the thing I was talking about. So this part right here is what we have already on the boat. And here in the middle there will be stainless steel thing, some kind of thing. This part here that will hold the anchor from the underneath. And these are the parts what I was talking about, and these will be the parts we're going to do today. So as you can see, they extend here from the side of the boat right here on the front. So just this maybe 20 to 30 centimeters of this part will be hanging out. And yeah, these parts will kind of hold this whole thing up and support this anchor thing as well. If we remove this anchor and this part from here, this is what it should look like before we put any hardware on the boat. And then I had a couple of options of the shape of this thing, because it turned out this is actually pretty visible part of the boat, and it affects of the overall look of the boat. So I had a couple of options. I discussed them with my patrons. If you want to join the Patreon, please push the link down below. It is essential part of supporting my project and allow me to do these videos and spend some time to explain you things like these. Thank you so much for my patrons. You are the best. I had 3 options. I did kind of ideas. What should I do? One of them was just to make a radius here, kind of following the radius of the bow of the boat. Yeah, it's okay. I kind of like this, but it's maybe a little bit bulky. Then there was this a little bit kind of more streamlined version with just a single line here and small radius there. And then there was this one here in the bottom that I ended up with. There's a small angle in here, then there's another angle here and all corners around it. I think this was the best of these options, and my patrons had the same conclusion. So that's what we are gonna go with. Now from these I'm gonna do a CNC cut files, these parts, something like that. And I actually do have those already in here somewhere, right in here. So I have done those parts already in here. Now I just need to take this image to Fusion 360 and make the actual cutting files from them. So that's the process. But yeah, let me do some computer work here and let's jump after that to the CNC. Alright, here is the files. That didn't take actually that long. Now we'll take this to the CNC. So this is my CNC. I have done it by myself, and it is essential part of this project, of course. And yeah, most of you probably know how I'm using it, but just a brief update or reminder, I always do 2 programs. The first program is to make drilling holes for the mounting screws for the piece that I'm working with, so that I can mount the piece securely on the spoil board there, so it doesn't move when the actual cutting is done. And then the second program is the actual cutting. And there is a couple of options that I have learned. The first thing is that the small details should be done first. So holes, small kind of cavities or stuff like that that need to be milled in there. And the rest of the stuff, kind of cutting the actual pieces out, is the last job to do. So yeah, now I'm first drilling the holes. The second program will start by boring some holes in there, and the last part of the program is to cut the parts out. And I'm not using tabs this time, which are those small pieces that hold the pieces in its place when it's cutting, because they are kind of annoying to get rid of afterwards. So instead, I'm just drilling additional hole into the piece itself. In this case, it really doesn't matter that much. It's just one hole. It will be filled with epoxy eventually anyway. So yeah, I'm just holding the pieces in with the screw. So yeah, let's now start the first program. Everything should be ready to make those holes. Then I'm gonna mount the piece with some screws and then cut the parts out. It shouldn't take long at all. These are small pieces and just 4 of them. So 20 minutes maybe. right now it's on its place, and now I'll start the second program and cut the pieces out. So here they are, ready to go. All right, it still amazes me how well that thing works. It's just amazing to get pieces like this. And at the same time, it always makes me a little bit nervous that does it work this time as well it has been working previously? And yeah, there is gonna be the one day that something breaks with the CNC, but so far I've been enjoying it, and yeah, let's just keep our fingers crossed that it works long enough to get this thing done. But here we have the pieces, and here is the slot for those, and there is a motorcycle, or the slot is here. And as you may remember, it was maybe a year ago or something, we had a little problems with the side wall here. It didn't fit to the slot, and that's because these plywood sheets, they should be 15 millimeters thick, but they are actually something like 15.5 or 15.6 millimeters. So when combining two of them, it's almost 2 millimeters thicker than it should be. And at the time when I did the first pieces here, I didn't know that, and I wasn't experienced enough to kind of take that into account. So now, unfortunately, there's the slot, and these don't fit in there. So we need to do some preparations here. We need to widen the slot a little bit. It's not a big deal. I just cut some off from this edge right here so that we can push these things in there. And then we need to cut a little bit from here. So they should go there, and you can see that it doesn't fit in here, so I need to cut a little bit off from here. And also I think we need to cut a little bit off from this as well to be able to push it underneath that thing over there. This area right here is actually perhaps the most complicated thing in the boat, because the hull will be done, the hull planking will be done in here. It will continue over this thing right here and kind of go over here, and there is a little bit of a cavity in here, and I think I made some sort of design error or something in here. So this slot you can maybe see here. Let me move the camera. This slot right here, I should have expanded this deck into this edge right here as well, but this will be kind of an open hole from the above underneath, so we need to fill this somehow eventually, but that's problem for a little later date. Now let's just put these in. We're gonna glue these two pieces together, of course, and we're gonna glue them in here, but this one here is just a mold, so we don't want to glue it in this, just for this and this edge, and of course this seam right here. And we can always kind of take a look at that afterwards from the other side when we flip the boat over, so it's not really that crucial right now, but these should kind of lean against this mold and that mold and make them straight like that. All right. Now the preparations are done. These fit here quite nicely, I would say. There's a little bit of a gap back there, but that's all right. We'll deal with that later. This gap we can fill with thickened epoxy, of course. There's now these 2 holes for small dowels to locate them exactly together, and yeah, now it's just time to spread some epoxy between these in that cavity and on that seam and put them on their places. About the epoxy, as I mentioned in previous video, the green turtle epoxy that I've been using so far, this stuff, they're not making this anymore, so I have 80 kilos of that remaining, but most of that is with the fast hardener, and that is way too fast to be used in these temperatures. It's now 25 degrees or something in here. So the place I'm getting my epoxy from, with a slightly sponsored deal, Materialshop.fi, they sent me additional material. This is actually Sika epoxy, and they sent me this to try out free of charge. If I like it, I'm gonna buy it, but if it doesn't work for me, I can send it back. I'm not gonna try that now for that actual part. I'm gonna try this for something else in next week or something, and yeah, I hope this works. It should have a slow hardener here, and probably that would work for making rest of the stuff during the summer. If it works, I'm gonna order more of that stuff. I'm not completely sure how this barrel should be used though, because, well, there's just a lid. So, need to figure that out. If you have any ideas, please put a comment down below, of course. So yeah, this will wait for a little bit, but just an update of the epoxy thing. Whew, that was intense. Yeah, I haven't used epoxy that much in these warm climates, and I did the usual 400-gram batch of that, and yeah, part of that is now already almost hardened, so it really kicked off in that cup. It was super hot. I just managed to put it in place. There's a small gap over there, but I think I feel that enough. And overall it looks good. There's a little bit of a gap there, but I feel that as well. The other side, as mentioned, we'll wait until we get the boat turned around. But yeah, these are now on their places and they're fine, I think. And that said, I think it's now enough of this video. This was intense and short, I believe, and we got one thing done, and that's great because it has been solid 2 weeks of everything in here, really. And the summer is coming. Tomorrow I will splash my current sailboat. It's already mid-June, so a little bit late with that, but I try to enjoy some sailing in next coming weeks, a little bit of a holiday maybe. I try to come here every now and then to do something. I'm waiting for a little bit colder day or weekend to laminate the rest of this beam in here and start with the other one. And I think it was very good idea not to start laminating that in this kind of heat, because yeah, I assure you, the colder it is, easier it is to use epoxy. It doesn't kick that much, and it gives you so much more working time. So yeah, this is hard and this is intense to do epoxy work in this kind of heat. So as for the project overall, as mentioned, I want to make this hull ready during this year, and during the summer I really want to get everything prepared for the planking and order the planking. So next thing is of course those beams and the keel timber over there. In coming weeks and months I will finish those and go from there. And the cleat mount things, they are underway. I probably will get them soon, so we can start making the preparations for those as well, and for the stanchion bases and stuff like that under here. And yeah, a lot of things to do still, but hope you enjoyed this little bit of a different video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, of course. And if you want to support my project, go and check the Patreon page. This is now partially funded by you guys, so I really appreciate that support. I'm so overwhelmed with the support from the patrons, and thank you so much. And we'll see you in a few weeks, I believe. Maybe this summer will be a little bit slower with the videos, but I try to enjoy the warm and nice weather, and yeah, it is such a short period of time here in North. Bye bye.